The alarm beeped 3 times before Lisa Martinez looked up from her coffee. She had been working the night shift at Sentinel Prime for 2 years, and most nights were quiet. Too quiet. The Deep Space Monitoring Station orbited at the very edge of human space, where the stars looked different, and nothing interesting ever happened. Lisa rubbed her tired eyes and checked the screen. The computer was picking up something strange. Not the usual space junk or solar wind patterns they normally tracked. This was different. This was a signal. "Computer, run analysis on incoming transmission," she said to the empty room. Her voice echoed off the metal walls of the communications bay. The station's artificial intelligence began working immediately. Numbers and graphs appeared on Lisa's screen, but she could not understand most of them. She was good at her job, but this signal was unlike anything she had seen before. It was too organized to be natural, but too alien to be human. The signal came in bursts, like someone tapping out a code. Between each burst were long periods of silence. Lisa counted the patterns. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short again. Then numbers, mathematical equations. The kind of math that worked the same way everywhere in the universe. "Dr. Clark to communications bay," Lisa spoke into her headset. "We have something here you need to see." Ryan Clark arrived 20 minutes later, carrying a mug of coffee and looking annoyed at being woken up. He was the station's expert on alien languages and mathematics. Not that they had ever found any aliens to talk to. Until now, maybe. "What do we have?" Ryan asked, settling into the chair next to Lisa. "Signals started coming in about an hour ago," Lisa said, pointing at her screen. "It's not random. Look at these patterns." Ryan studied the data for several minutes without speaking. His coffee grew cold as he worked through the mathematics in his head. Finally, he sat back in his chair with a strange expression on his face. "This is a distress call," he said quietly. Lisa felt her heart speed up. "Are you sure?" "The math is universal. Pi, the speed of light, basic physics constants. They're using these to build a language. And that language is saying one thing over and over." Ryan turned to look at Lisa directly. "Help us. Help us," Lisa repeated. "From where?" Ryan typed commands into his computer. Star charts appeared on the main screen, showing the direction the signal was coming from. 47 light-years away. Outside human space. Way outside. Who's sending it? "I don't know yet, but whoever they are, they're in serious trouble." Ryan started working faster, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "The signal is getting weaker. Either their transmitter is failing, or they're dying," Lisa finished. The next few hours passed quickly. Ryan worked to decode more of the message while Lisa contacted Earth Command. Admiral Kate Sullivan herself came on the secure channel, her image appearing on the communication screen. Even through the static of interstellar transmission, she looked alert and serious. "Admiral, we have a confirmed alien distress signal," Lisa reported. "Dr. Clark has translated parts of the message." "Let me hear it," Admiral Sullivan said. Ryan activated the translation program he had been building. The computer spoke in a flat, electronic voice. "We are the Zephyrian Collective. Our worlds burn. Our people die. The Void Hunters have come. We cannot fight them. We are not warriors. If anyone hears this message, please help us. We are running out of time." Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was tight with controlled anger. "What else do we know about these Void Hunters?" "Not much yet," Ryan replied. "The Zephyrians describe them as destroyers. They don't just kill. They consume entire civilizations. The message says they've already taken the main Zephyrian world. The survivors are hiding on moons and space stations. How many survivors? Hard to say. Maybe millions, maybe less." "Admiral," Sullivan rubbed her forehead. Lisa could see the weight of the decision forming in the Admiral's mind. 47 light-years was a long way from Earth. It would take their fastest ships weeks to get there. And for what? To save aliens they had never met from enemies they knew nothing about. "There's more, Admiral," Ryan said. "The Zephyrians describe themselves as a peaceful species. They've never fought a war. Their bones are hollow, like birds. They're built for art and science, not combat. The Void Hunters picked them because they're easy targets. And these Void Hunters? The opposite. The message describes them as nomads who travel from system to system, taking everything and leaving nothing alive. They've destroyed dozens of civilizations." Admiral Sullivan was quiet again. Lisa watched the Admiral's face on the screen, seeing the internal struggle. Earth had its own problems. The colonies needed protection. Resources were limited. Sending help to aliens might leave human worlds vulnerable. "Patch me through to Captain Morrison." Admiral Sullivan finally said. Jake Morrison's face appeared on a smaller screen. He was aboard the USS Titan's Fury, patrolling the outer colonies. His weathered face and scarred hands marked him as a veteran of humanity's worst conflicts. "Jake, did you hear the transmission?" Admiral Sullivan asked. "Every word," Captain Morrison replied. "Admiral, we have to help them. It's not our fight, Jake. These aliens are strangers to us. We have no treaty, no alliance, no strategic interest in their system. With respect, Admiral, that's exactly why we need to help them." Captain Morrison leaned forward in his chair. 50 years ago, when the machines rebelled on Earth, we sent out our own distress calls. No one answered. We fought alone and barely survived. These Zephyrians are sending the same message we sent. The only difference is, this time someone is listening. Admiral Sullivan considered this. Lisa found herself holding her breath. "The Void Hunters," Admiral Sullivan said slowly. "If they destroy the Zephyrians, what stops them from coming after us next?" "Nothing," Captain Morrison replied. "Species like this don't stop. They keep consuming until someone stops them. We can fight them now, on their terms, or we can wait and fight them later on ours." The signal from the Zephyrians grew weaker as they talked. Lisa watched the transmission strength dropping on her instruments. Soon, there would be only silence. "Admiral," Lisa said quietly, "they're running out of power. This might be their last transmission." Admiral Sullivan closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, Lisa saw the decision had been made. "Captain Morrison, prepare your fleet for extended operations. Dr. Clark, I need everything you can tell me about these Zephyrians and their enemies. Lisa, keep monitoring that signal. If they're still alive when we get there, I want to be able to talk to them." "Yes, Admiral," all three replied. "And contact Fleet Command," Admiral Sullivan continued. "Tell them to begin mobilizing the Deathworlder. Armada. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we can spare. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right." The transmission ended, leaving Lisa and Ryan alone in the communications bay. Outside the station's windows, the stars looked the same as always. But Lisa knew that somewhere among those distant lights, aliens were dying while waiting for help that might never come. "Do you think we can save them?" Lisa asked. Ryan was already back at his computer, working to extract more information from the weakening signal. "I don't know," he said, "but I know we're going to try." Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Titan's Fury, watching as ships appeared from all corners of human space. The massive dreadnought was the size of a small city, its hull black as space itself and covered with enough weapons to destroy a planet. Now it would serve as the flagship for the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. "Another convoy just dropped out of hyperspace, Captain," reported Lieutenant Sam Carter from the navigation station. "That makes 47 battle groups so far." Jake nodded. his eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the growing fleet. Ships continued to arrive every few minutes. Battleships from the core worlds, carriers from the military academies, destroyers from the frontier colonies. Even civilian vessels had been converted into warships, their cargo holds now filled with weapons and soldiers instead of trade goods. Status report from the Martian Defense Fleet, called Communications Officer Beth Williams. Admiral Chun sends her compliments and reports ready for combat operations. What about the outer colonies? Jake asked. New Texas is sending 3 battle groups. The miners from Asteroid Belt Station have volunteered their entire fleet. Even the research stations are contributing ships. Jake smiled grimly. When humanity decided to fight, they fought with everything they had. The call had gone out just 3 days ago, and already the largest armada in human history was gathering at the edge of solar space. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster entered the bridge, her combat armor gleaming under the lights. She commanded the 7th Shock Infantry Division, 10,000 soldiers trained to fight in the worst conditions imaginable. Her troops were loading onto assault ships throughout the fleet. Colonel Foster reporting, Captain, she said with a sharp salute. My people are ready for deployment. Every soldier in the division volunteered for this mission. All 10,000? All 10,000, sir. When they heard about aliens being slaughtered by these void hunters, there wasn't a single person who wanted to stay behind. Jake was not surprised. Human soldiers were different from most species. Where others might hesitate to fight for strangers, humans seemed to get angry when they heard about innocent people being hurt. It was one of the things that made them so dangerous in combat. What's our transport situation? Better than expected, Amy replied, consulting her tablet. The new Olympus brought 200 of their cyber-enhanced Marines. The frontier militias are coming with their own ships. We'll have enough assault craft to land on 50 worlds at once if we need to. Technical Sergeant Ben Rodriguez appeared at Jake's elbow, carrying a datapad filled with supply reports. Ben was responsible for making sure the massive fleet had everything it needed for war. Food, fuel, ammunition, spare parts, medical supplies. Moving an army across interstellar space was like trying to organize a moving city. Captain, we have a problem, Ben said quietly. What kind of problem? The good kind. We have too many volunteers. Every colony wants to send ships. Every military unit wants to join the mission. We're getting more offers of help than we can handle. Jake looked at the tactical display again. The number of ships continued to grow. 3,000 vessels now, with more arriving every hour. How many can we actually take, logistically? About 2,000 combat ships with full supply lines. But sir, we're getting civilian volunteers too. Cargo haulers wanting to carry supplies, hospital ships. Even some of the big passenger liners want to be converted into troop transports. Let them come, Jake decided. If we're going to do this, we might as well do it properly. Dr. Claire Thompson joined the group, her medical uniform standing out among all the military gear. She was the chief medical officer for the expedition, responsible for keeping the Army healthy during the long journey to Zephyrian space. Captain, I need to discuss medical preparations, she said. We don't know anything about alien biology. If we're going to treat wounded Zephyrians, I'll need to figure out their medical needs during the trip. What do you need? Dr. Clark sent me the translation data from their distress signals. I'm learning what I can about their physiology. Hollow bones, very fragile, completely different from humans. But Captain, there's something else. What? The Zephyrians mentioned in their signal that the Void Hunters keep prisoners alive. They're using them for something. If we find survivors, they might need extensive medical care. Jake felt his jaw tighten. Using prisoners was bad enough. Keeping them alive to suffer was worse. Doctor, you'll have everything you need. Ben, make sure medical gets priority on supplies. Already handled, Captain, Ben replied. Admiral Kate Sullivan's image appeared on the main communication screen. She was broadcasting from Earth Command, addressing the entire assembled fleet. Soldiers, sailors, and citizens of humanity, the Admiral began. 3 days ago, we received a distress call from an alien species 47 light-years from Earth. The Zephyrian Collective is dying. Their people are being slaughtered by an enemy called the Void Hunters. The bridge fell silent as everyone listened. Some of you might wonder why we're risking human lives for aliens we've never met. The answer is simple. Because it's the right thing to do. Because when innocent people cry for help, we answer. Because that's who we are. Jake watched his crew nodding in agreement. This was why humans were different. Other species might calculate costs and benefits. Humans heard about suffering and wanted to stop it. The Void Hunters think they can destroy entire civilizations without consequences. Admiral Sullivan continued. Today, they learn what happens when they threaten innocence within our reach. Today, they meet the Deathworlder Armada. Cheers erupted across the fleet. Thousands of ships, hundreds of thousands of crew members, all united by a simple idea. No one should die alone while humans could help. Fleet commanders, prepare for departure, Admiral Sullivan ordered. Destination, Zephyrian space. Mission, complete destruction of the Void Hunter forces. Rules of engagement. Show them the same mercy they showed their victims. Jake turned to his crew. You heard the Admiral. All stations, prepare for hyperspace jump. Alert all ships in the fleet. We leave in 1 hour. The bridge burst into activity. Navigation officers plotted courses. Communications specialists coordinated with the other ships. Engineers checked the massive hyperspace drives that would carry the fleet across 47 light-years of empty space. Captain, Lieutenant Carter called out. Incoming priority message from the research station at Proxima Centauri. They've been monitoring the Zephyrian signals. Put it through. Dr. Clark's face appeared on a smaller screen. He looked tired but excited. Captain Morrison, I've decoded more of the Zephyrian transmissions. The situation is worse than we thought. How? Much worse? The Zephyrian homeworld has fallen completely. The survivors are scattered across their outer system, hiding on moons and asteroid bases. But Captain, the Void Hunters aren't just killing them. They're harvesting them. Harvesting? Using them as living computers somehow. The Zephyrian neural patterns are compatible with Void Hunter technology. They're keeping them alive and connected to their ships. Jake felt cold anger building in his chest. Using prisoners as slaves was evil enough. Using them as living machine parts was beyond. Forgiveness. How many survivors? Hard to say. Maybe 2 million, scattered across dozens of hiding places. But Captain, they're losing hope. The last transmission I received was weaker than the others. I think they're starting to give up. Not on our watch, Jake said firmly. Doctor, keep monitoring those signals. If they're still alive when we get there, I want to talk to them immediately. Understood, Captain. A communication ended, leaving the bridge in grim silence. 2 million aliens waiting to die, used as living tools by their captors. It was the kind of cruelty that made human soldiers fight harder. Fleet status report. Jake called out. All ships report ready for departure, Lieutenant Carter replied. Hyperspace drives are charged and coordinates are locked in. Jake looked out at the assembled armada one more time. 3,000 ships carrying the fury of an entire species. The Void Hunters had picked the wrong prey. They had tortured innocence within humanity's reach. Now they would learn why humans were called Deathworlders. All ships, this is the Titan's fury, Jake announced on the fleet channel. Execute hyperspace jump. Time to show the galaxy what human justice looks like. The stars outtwisted and vanished as the greatest military force in human history disappeared into hyperspace, carrying war to an alien star system 47 light-years away. The Deathworlder armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system like a storm of metal and fire. 3,000 human ships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons powered and ready for battle. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Titan's Fury, watching the tactical displays fill with data about the alien star system. "System scan complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Sam Carter. "Multiple planets, several large moons. The main world shows massive damage from orbital bombardment. Cities are dark, no energy signatures. Life signs?" Jake asked. "Hard to tell at this range. The planet's atmosphere is full of smoke and debris. But, Captain, I'm detecting movement. On the outer moons. Lots of small ships hiding in asteroid fields." Jake nodded grimly. The Zephyrians were still alive, but barely. "Any sign of the Void Hunters?" "Negative, sir. Either they've moved on, or they're hiding deeper in the system. Maintain alert status. Send a message to Admiral Sullivan that we've arrived safely." Jake turned to his communications officer. "Beth, try to contact the Zephyrian survivors. Use Dr. Clark's translation protocols." Commander Lisa Barnes entered the bridge, wearing the dress uniform of the Diplomatic Corps. She had volunteered to lead the first contact team, knowing that meeting aliens for the first time required careful handling. "Captain, the Peacemaker is ready for departure," she reported. "We've loaded medical supplies and basic translation equipment. Dr. Thompson insists on coming with us in case they have wounded." "Take a full security team," Jake ordered. "We don't know how the Zephyrians will react to seeing humans." "We might." "Look pretty scary to a peaceful species." Lisa nodded. "Humans were built for survival on a dangerous world. Dense bones, powerful muscles, forward-facing predator eyes, and teeth designed for tearing meat. To a fragile alien species, they might appear to be the ultimate killing machines." "Incoming transmission, Captain," Beth announced. "It's weak, but I think it's from the survivors." The bridge fell silent as alien sounds filled the air. Musical tones mixed with what sounded like whale songs, completely unlike any human language. After a few minutes, the computer began translating the sounds into words. "Unknown ships. Please identify yourselves. We are refugees of the Zephyrian Collective. We have nothing of value. Please do not hurt us." Jake felt his heart tighten at the fear in the translated message. These aliens had been so traumatized by the Void Hunters that they begged every stranger not to harm them. "Respond using Dr. Clark's protocols," Jake told Beth. "Tell them we received their distress call. We're here to help." The message was transmitted, converted into the musical tones the Zephyrians used for communication. The response came back, quickly, filled with what the computer identified as excitement and disbelief. "You heard our call? You came to help us? But we are strangers to you. Why would you risk yourselves for unknown aliens?" Jake smiled at the question. It was so perfectly alien, the idea that helping strangers was unusual. "Tell them it's what humans do," he said simply. An hour later, Commander Barnes took the fast frigate Peacemaker toward the largest concentration of Zephyrian ships. The alien vessels were unlike anything in human experience. They looked grown rather than built, with smooth curves and organic shapes that reminded Barnes of deep-sea creatures. Dr. Claire Thompson sat beside Barnes in the Peacemaker's cabin, checking her medical equipment. "Remember, Captain Morrison's briefing said their bones are hollow like birds. They're probably extremely fragile by our standards." "I'll be careful," Barnes promised, "but they need to see that we're not a threat." The Zephyrian ship they approached was about half the size of the Peacemaker, its hull shimmering with patterns of colored light. As they drew closer, Barnes could see movement through transparent sections of the alien vessel. "Commander Barnes," came Dr. Thompson's surprised voice. "Look at them." Barnes looked through the transparent walls of the alien ship and gasped. The Zephyrians were tall and graceful, with pale translucent skin that seemed to glow with inner light. They had 4 delicate arms instead of 2, and their movements were flowing and dance-like. But what struck Barnes most was how fragile they appeared, like living glass sculptures that might break if handled roughly. "No wonder the Void Hunters targeted them," Dr. Thompson murmured. "They're beautiful, but they couldn't fight a determined child." The docking took careful coordination. The Zephyrian ship's airlock was designed for creatures much different from humans. Eventually, Barnes and Dr. Thompson managed to create a sealed connection between the 2 vessels. "Remember," Barnes told her team, "move slowly, speak quietly, and try not to smile. Our teeth might frighten them." The airlock opened to reveal 3 Zephyrians waiting nervously. The lead alien was taller than the others, with intricate patterns of blue and gold light flowing across its skin. When it saw the humans, it stepped backward in obvious fear. Barnes removed her helmet slowly, keeping her hands visible and her expression neutral. "I am Commander Lisa Barnes of the human starship Peacemaker. We received your distress call and came to help." The lead Zephyrian made musical sounds that the translation device converted to words. "I am Harmony Singer Veltar, speaker for the Hidden Fleet. You are the ones who answered our call?" "Yes, my people heard your message and sent an armada to help you." Veltar's skin patterns shifted to what the computer identified as surprise and disbelief. "An armada? But why?" "We have nothing to offer. We are not warriors. We cannot repay such kindness." Dr. Thompson stepped forward carefully. "We don't want payment. We help because it's right." The other Zephyrians made sounds that translated as wonder and confusion. Barnes realized that the concept of helping strangers was completely foreign to them. Their species had never encountered altruism on this scale. "Harmony Singer Veltar," Barnes said, "can you tell us about the Void Hunters? We need to understand our enemy." Veltar's skin patterns turned dark with fear. They came from the void between stars. Ships like living nightmares, filled with creatures that know only hunger. They did not want to conquer us. They wanted to consume us. Consume? They harvest our people like we harvest fruit. They connect our minds to their machines, use our neural patterns to control their technology. My people are being used as living computers in their ships. Dr. Thompson's medical scanner beeped as she examined the aliens. "Commander, they're neural. Activity is off the charts. Their brains are incredibly complex, much more so than human brains. That's why the Void Hunters want us," Veltar explained. "Our minds can process information in ways theirs cannot, but the connection slowly kills us. We die as we serve them." Barnes felt cold anger building inside her. Using prisoners as slaves was evil enough, but using them as living machine parts while they slowly died was beyond forgiveness. "How many survivors?" she asked. "Perhaps 2 million, scattered across the outer system. We hide in asteroid fields and dead moons, but the Void Hunters find us eventually. Their ships can track our neural emissions." "What about the Void Hunters themselves? How many ships do they have?" Veltar's patterns shifted to what looked like hopelessness. "Hundreds of vessels, weapons that can crack moons, defenses that have never been breached. Commander Barnes, your people are brave to come here, but you should leave while you can. The Void Hunters will return soon." Barnes smiled, then caught herself and made her expression neutral again. "Harmony Singer Veltar, you don't understand. We didn't come here to run away. We came here to end this. End this? But how? No one has ever defeated the Void Hunters. They have destroyed dozens of civilizations. They've never fought humans before, Dr. Thompson said quietly. Barnes activated her communicator. Captain Morrison, this is the first contact team. We've made successful contact with the Zephyrian survivors. They're in bad shape, but they're alive. Jake's voice came through clearly. What's the situation with the enemy? The Void Hunters are using the Zephyrians as living computers, sir. They're harvesting their neural patterns to control their technology. 2 million survivors are scattered throughout the system, but they're being hunted down systematically. Understood. What do you need? Barnes looked at Veltar, seeing me. Hope and fear warring in the alien's expression. Permission to begin rescue operations, sir. These people have been through hell. Granted. Bring as many as you can back to the fleet. It's time they met the species that's going to save them. Veltar listened to the translation with growing amazement. You truly mean to fight the Void Hunters? Even though we are strangers to you? Especially because you're strangers to us, Barnes replied. That's what makes us human. The Zephyrian skin patterns shifted to colors the computer couldn't translate, but Barnes could see it was some form of gratitude beyond words. For the first time since the Void Hunters arrived, the Zephyrians had hope. Commander Barnes, Veltar said finally, I do not understand your species, but I am grateful beyond expression that you exist. Barnes replaced her helmet and prepared to return to the Peacemaker. Harmony singer Veltar, you're about to see why the Void Hunters picked the wrong species to threaten. Humans don't like bullies. Major Steve Johnson crouched behind a broken piece of asteroid, watching the Void Hunter patrol ship through his scope. The alien vessel looked like something from a nightmare. Black metal mixed with what appeared to be living tissue, pulsing, with dark veins that carried unknown fluids. Spikes and claws jutted from its hull like the teeth of some enormous predator. Contact report to Titan's Fury, Steve whispered into his communicator. Enemy patrol vessel, approximately 200 meters long. Hull appears to be part biological, part mechanical. No obvious weak points visible. From his hiding spot in the asteroid field, Steve had been watching Void Hunter ships for 3 days. Each one was different, as if they were grown rather than built. Some looked like giant insects with metal wings. Others resembled sea creatures with tentacles that moved independently. All of them carried the same message. Death and horror dot back on the Titan's Fury. Chief Intelligence Officer Nicole Davis studied the reports coming in from reconnaissance teams throughout the system. Her job was to understand the enemy before the main battle began. What she was learning made her increasingly worried. Captain Morrison, she called from her station. I need to brief you on what we've discovered about the Void Hunters. Jake approached her workstation, followed by Admiral Sullivan, who had transferred her flag to the Titan's Fury for the operation. Other senior officers gathered around as Nicole activated the main display screen. The Void Hunters are unlike any enemy we've ever faced, Nicole began. Their ships are biomechanical hybrids, part machine, part living creature. The biological sections can repair themselves, making them incredibly difficult to destroy permanently. What about their weapons? Admiral Sullivan asked. That's where it gets interesting. Their weapons are designed to disable and capture, not destroy. They prefer their prey alive. Energy weapons that paralyze rather than kill. Boarding pods that inject sleeping gas instead of explosives. Jake frowned. They're not built for total war. Exactly. Their entire tactical doctrine is based on fighting species like the Zephyrians. Fragile, peaceful races who surrender quickly when faced with superior force. They've never encountered a species that fights back effectively. The display screen showed footage from Major Johnson's reconnaissance mission. A Void Hunter ship was harvesting Zephyrian prisoners from a small moon base. The aliens worked slowly and methodically, like farmers collecting crops. There was no urgency in their movements, No sign they expected resistance. They're overconfident, Admiral Sullivan observed. They think every species will react like the Zephyrians. Which brings us to their greatest weakness, Nicole continued. They've grown complacent. Look at this footage from the Zephyrian homeworld. The screen changed to show the main planet in the system. Void Hunter ships moved in regular patterns above the surface, completely exposed to attack. Their formations were spread thin, designed to cover maximum area rather than provide mutual support. They're not even trying to defend themselves. Jake said with amazement. They think they're invulnerable. Because they have been invulnerable, Nicole replied. According to the Zephyrian records, the Void Hunters have destroyed 43 civilizations over the past 1,000 years. Not one has ever mounted an effective resistance. Dr. Thompson joined the briefing, carrying a datapad with medical information. I've been studying the Zephyrian survivors we brought aboard. The neural damage from their captivity is extensive, but they're telling us important things about Void Hunter psychology, such as the Void Hunters feed on fear as much as they feed on resources. They enjoy terrorizing their victims. It's not just about harvesting neural patterns. They take pleasure in the suffering they cause. Jake felt his jaw tighten. Warriors who enjoyed causing pain were the worst kind of enemy. What else? They broadcast fear-inducing frequencies before every attack. Sounds and electromagnetic patterns, designed to cause panic in most species. It's psychological warfare on a massive scale. Have you tested these frequencies on humans? Admiral Sullivan asked. Dr. Thompson smiled grimly. I ran the tests on volunteers from the Marine units. The Void Hunter fear frequencies had no effect on humans. If anything, they made our people more aggressive. Interesting, Nicole said. The Void Hunter's greatest weapon doesn't work on us. Captain Morrison received a priority message from Major Johnson's team. Captain, we've located the main Void Hunter base. It's on the Zephyrian homeworld, in what used to be their capital city. The main screen changed to show reconnaissance footage of the planet's surface. Where once a beautiful alien city had stood, now there was a massive industrial complex. Towers of black metal stretched toward the sky, connected by bridges that pulsed with the same dark veins seen on Void Hunter ships. How many prisoners? Jake asked. Hard to say exactly. Thermal imaging shows thousands of life signs in the complex. Maybe tens of thousands. They're all connected to some kind of central network. Dr. Thompson studied the images with growing horror. They're using the entire population as a living computer system. The neural connections are keeping them alive while slowly draining their life force. How long do the prisoners have? Admiral Sullivan asked. Based on the medical data from our survivors, maybe weeks. The process is accelerating. The Void Hunters are preparing for something big. Nicole pulled up new intelligence data. Admiral, we've intercepted Void Hunter communications. They're planning to move to their next target system. Apparently, they've drained everything useful from the Zephyrians and are ready to find new prey. Do we know their next target? A system called Harmony's Rest. 7 billion inhabitants across 4 worlds. All peaceful species like the Zephyrians. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. 7 billion innocent lives, waiting unknowingly for the nightmare that was coming their way. Not happening, Jake said firmly. We end this. Here, Major Johnson's voice came through the communicator again. Captain, you need to see this. I'm sending video of the Void Hunter Command Center. The screen filled with images of the largest Void Hunter ship, a massive vessel that looked like a floating city of nightmares. It sat in the ruins of the Zephyrian capital, connected to the harvesting complex by dozens of cables and tubes. That's their command ship, Nicole explained. According to the intelligence we've gathered, destroying it would cripple their entire fleet. The Void Hunters operate through a central neural network. Take out the command node, and the rest of their ships become blind and confused. How well defended is it? Admiral Sullivan asked. That's the beautiful part, Nicole replied with a cold smile. It's barely defended at all. They're so confident in their invincibility that they've put their most important asset in the most exposed position possible. Jake studied the tactical situation. The Void Hunters had made every mistake a military force could make. They were overconfident, spread thin, and completely unprepared for real opposition. Their weapons were designed for capture rather than destruction. Their formations prioritized intimidation over defense. Admiral, he said, I think these Void Hunters are about to learn a very hard lesson about picking fights with the wrong species. What's that, Captain? They've spent 1,000 years hunting prey. Now they're about to discover what it's like to be hunted by predators. Admiral Sullivan nodded. Begin preparing the attack plan. All units, all weapons. I want the Void Hunters to understand that their reign of terror is over. What about the prisoners? Dr. Thompson asked. We save everyone we can, Jake replied. The Void Hunters think they can use innocent people as living tools. Time to show them what happens when you threaten innocence within reach of the Deathworlder. Armada. Major Johnson's final report came through the communicator. Captain, I'm seeing movement from the Void Hunter fleet. They're starting to gather their forces. I think they know we're here. Jake smiled, the expression that had once terrified the Zephyrians, but now represented hope throughout the galaxy. Good. Let them come. They wanted to meet a species that knows how to fight. Now they get their wish. The bridge crew began final preparations for battle. The Void Hunters had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years, destroying civilizations and harvesting entire species. But they had never encountered humanity before. They were about to learn why humans were called Deathworlders. The Deathworlder Armada struck like lightning across 12 different points in the Zephyrian system. Admiral Kate Sullivan had divided her massive fleet into hunter-killer groups, each one targeting a different Void Hunter formation. The aliens, expecting another easy victory against helpless prey, instead faced the fury of 3,000 human warships. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the Titans. Fury as the first exchange of weapons began. The Void Hunter ships opened fire with their paralyzing energy beams, the same weapons that had disabled countless alien civilizations. The blue streams of light struck the human vessels and simply bounced off their reinforced armor. No effect from enemy weapons, reported Lieutenant Sam Carter. Our shields are holding at full strength. Jake smiled grimly. Human military technology was designed to fight other humans, the most dangerous predators in known space. Weapons meant to disable fragile aliens barely scratched paint on human warships. All batteries return fire, Jake ordered. Target their command vessels first. The Titan's fury erupted in flame as dozens of weapons fired at once. Fusion cannons that could crack moons sent streams of plasma into the Void Hunter formation. Kinetic railguns accelerated metal slugs to incredible speeds, punching through alien hulls like paper. Missile pods launched clouds of explosive death that turned biomechanical ships into expanding balls of fire. The Void Hunters had never experienced warfare like this. Their ships, designed to intimidate and capture, began exploding under the relentless human assault. Biomechanical hulls that could repair small damage were overwhelmed by weapons designed for total destruction. On the surface of the Zephyrian homeworld, Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster led the ground assault against the harvesting facilities. Her shock troops dropped from orbit in armored pods, landing directly in the heart of the enemy complex. The Void Hunters, accustomed to fighting beings who broke like glass, found themselves facing soldiers in powered armor who could survive. Direct hits from their weapons. 1st Battalion, secure the northern complex. Amy ordered over the tactical channel. 2nd Battalion, hit the power generators. 3rd Battalion, with me to the prisoner facilities. The Void Hunter ground forces were even less prepared for real combat than their space fleet. They relied on fear and overwhelming numbers to crush resistance. Against human soldiers who felt no fear and struck back twice as hard, their tactics collapsed completely. Sergeant Tony Garcia kicked down the door to a prisoner holding area and stopped in horror. Hundreds of Zephyrians were connected to pulsing machines, their bodies pale and weak from months of neural harvesting. Cables ran from their heads to massive computers that hummed with stolen alien thoughts. "Medic," Tony called. "We need Dr. Thompson's team down here now." Dr. Claire Thompson and her medical staff worked frantically to disconnect the prisoners from the Void Hunter machines. Each Zephyrian they freed was barely alive, their life force drained to power alien technology. But they were alive, and human medicine was designed to save soldiers from impossible injuries. "Easy there," Dr. Thompson whispered to a young Zephyrian as she carefully removed the neural cables. "You're safe now. The humans are here." In space, the battle raged across the entire system. The Void Hunter fleet, spread thin to cover maximum territory, found themselves picked apart by concentrated human forces. Admiral Sullivan's tactical brilliance showed as her hunter-killer groups struck fast and hard, then disappeared into the asteroid fields before the enemy could respond. The USS New Olympus, carrying cyber-enhanced Marines, led an assault on a Void Hunter bioship. Captain Maria Santos watched as her soldiers cut through the alien vessel like a hot knife through butter. The Void Hunters inside panicked when they realized their prisoners were fighting back. "This is New Olympus to all units," Maria reported. "Enemy resistance is collapsing. They don't know how to fight a real military force." The turning point came when Technical Sergeant Ben Rodriguez's team managed to capture an intact Void Hunter command vessel. The alien ship's bridge was a nightmare of organic computers and neural interfaces, but Ben's technical experts quickly figured out how it worked. "Admiral Sullivan," Ben reported over the communication channel, "we've hacked into their command network. The Void Hunters coordinate everything through a central neural link. If we can disrupt it, their entire fleet goes blind." "Do it," Admiral Sullivan ordered. Ben's team unleashed a cyber attack unlike anything the Void Hunters had ever faced. Human computer viruses, designed to fight advanced artificial intelligences, tore through the alien network like fire through dry grass. Void Hunter ships suddenly found themselves unable to communicate with each other. Their coordination shattered. The space battle became a slaughter. Isolated Void Hunter vessels, cut off from their command network, became easy targets for human weapons. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years died alone in the darkness, their crews finally understanding what it felt like to be helpless prey. On the planet's surface, Amy Foster's troops reached the main harvesting facility. The massive complex stretched for kilometers, filled with thousands of Zephyrian prisoners connected to the central network. The sight filled every human soldier with cold rage. "No prisoners," Amy ordered her troops. The Void Hunters wanted to harvest innocence. Now they faced the harvest of human justice. The battle's climax came when the Void Hunter war leader, Devourer of Worlds Krofik, challenged the human commander to single combat. The alien leader was massive, twice the size of a human, with cybernetic enhancements that made him a living weapon. Captain Morrison accepted the challenge, meeting the alien leader in the ruins of the Zephyrian capital. Krofik expected to face another fragile creature like the Zephyrians. Instead, he found himself fighting a human in powered armor, backed by centuries of military evolution on a deadly world. The duel was brutal but brief. Krofik's claws and bioweapons, designed to terrorize peaceful aliens, could not penetrate human military armor. Morrison's weapons, designed to kill other humans, tore through the alien leader's cybernetic enhancements like they were made of paper. "This is for every innocent life you destroyed," Morrison said as he stood over the defeated war leader. The death of their leader broke the remaining Void Hunter resistance. Ships throughout the system began surrendering or fleeing in panic. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for a millennium was finally facing an enemy they could not defeat. "All units, this is Admiral Sullivan," came the announcement across the fleet. "Zephyrian system is secure. Begin rescue operations immediately. Every prisoner is to be freed and given medical care." Amy Foster walked through the liberated harvesting facilities, watching as her medics worked to save thousands of Zephyrian prisoners. Many were barely alive, but they were free. The nightmare that had consumed their civilization was finally over. "Colonel Foster," called one of her sergeants, "we found something you need to see." Amy followed him to a secured section of the complex. Inside were databanks containing the complete records of every civilization the Void Hunters had destroyed. 43 species, billions of lives, all cataloged like livestock. "Not anymore," Amy said quietly. "Send this data to Admiral Sullivan. The galaxy needs to know what these monsters did. And they need to know that someone finally stopped them." In the depths of space, the last Void Hunter command ship exploded in a ball of fire, taking with it the final remnant of a species that had brought only death and suffering to the galaxy. The Zephyrian system was free, but more importantly, the galaxy was safe from a threat that had seemed unstoppable, the Deathworlder. Armada had announced to the universe that there were still those who stood against the darkness. Today they had shown what happened when predators threatened innocence within human reach. 6 months after the battle, the Zephyrian system looked completely different. Human engineering teams had rebuilt the damaged cities using advanced construction methods. Zephyrian artists worked alongside human architects to create buildings that combined alien beauty with human durability. The dead world was alive again, filled with the songs of a people who had thought they would never sing again. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral, stood in the newly built council chamber on the Zephyrian homeworld. Representatives from 17 different alien species filled the room, each one a survivor of attacks by predatory races like the Void Hunters. Word of humanity's intervention had spread throughout the galaxy faster than light itself. Harmony singer Veltar approached the podium, her skin patterns glowing with colors that the translation computers identified as deep gratitude and hope. She had been elected as the new leader of the Zephyrian people, chosen to guide them into a future they had never dared to imagine. 6 months ago, my people were dying, Veltar began, her musical voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. We had given up hope. We sent our final message into the darkness, not expecting anyone to hear, much less to answer. Admiral Morrison listened as the translation converted her words into human speech. Even through the electronic conversion, he could hear the emotion in her voice. But someone did hear. Someone did answer. A species we had never met traveled 47 light years to save strangers they owed nothing to. Today, we gather not just to thank them, but to forge a new future for all peaceful peoples of the galaxy. Dr. Ryan Clark worked at his translation station, coordinating communication between the 17 different species in the chamber. Each race had its own language, its own way of thinking, but all shared the same story. They were peaceful peoples who had been terrorized by predatory species until they learned to live in constant fear. The gentle swimmers of Aqua Prime, Dr. Clark announced, report that the sea devourers have been raiding their ocean cities for 300 years. They request protection and alliance with the human forces. The crystal shapers of harmonies. Rest, came another translation, confirmed that Void Hunter scouts had been spotted in their system before the human victory. They believed they were next on the target list. Admiral Morrison stood to address the assembly. The alien representatives fell silent. Their various forms of attention focused on the human leader who had become a legend throughout the galaxy. Friends, Morrison began, speaking slowly so the translators could keep up. 6 months ago, we came here to answer a distress call. We thought we were saving one species from one enemy. What we discovered was that the galaxy is full of predators who hunt the innocent because they believe no one will stop them. The chamber erupted in sounds that the computers translated as agreement and determination from a dozen different species. Today, we proved them wrong. Today, we announced the formation of the Deathworlder Covenant, an alliance between humanity and all peaceful species who seek protection from those who would harm them. Representative Softwing Flutter of the Aerial Dancers raised one of her delicate appendages. Her species looked like living rainbows, creatures of pure beauty who had been hunted by the Shadow Fleet for over a century. Admiral Morrison, she said through the translators, what do you ask in return for this protection? Our species have little to offer compared to human military might. Morrison smiled, the expression that had once terrified the Zephyrians, but now brought hope throughout the galaxy. You offer us something more valuable than weapons or wealth. You offer us purpose. Purpose? Humans. Our warriors, Representative Flutter. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We became strong because we had to be strong. But strength without purpose is just destruction. You give our strength meaning. Technical Sergeant Ben Rodriguez approached Morrison with a datapad containing reports from across the galaxy. Since news of the Void Hunter defeat had spread, humanity had received over 300 requests for aid from species throughout known space. Admiral, Ben said quietly, Earth Command is asking what our response should be to all these requests for help. They want to know if we're planning to police the entire galaxy. Morrison looked out at the assembled representatives. Creatures of crystal and light, beings of flowing water and singing wind, aliens who created art that could make humans weep with its beauty. All of them looking to humanity for protection they could not provide themselves. Tell Earth Command that we're not policing the galaxy, Morrison replied. We're protecting it. Dr. Claire Thompson entered the chamber carrying medical reports from the 17 species. Her team had been working to understand alien biology so they could provide better medical care during future rescue operations. Admiral, I have the medical analysis you requested, she said. These species aren't just peaceful by choice. They're physically incapable of effective violence. Their evolution took them down paths that emphasized cooperation and creativity instead of competition and warfare, which made them perfect targets for predators, Morrison observed. Exactly. But Admiral, there's something else. Each of these species has knowledge and abilities that could benefit humanity enormously. The Zephyrians' understanding of neural networks could advance our computer technology by centuries. The crystal shapers can manipulate matter at the molecular level. The gentle swimmers have medical knowledge that could eliminate most human diseases. Morrison nodded. The Covenant would not be a one-sided arrangement. Humanity would provide protection, but they would receive knowledge and friendship in return. The formal alliance documents are ready, Admiral, announced Commander Lisa Barnes, who had become the chief diplomatic officer for the new alliance. Each species agrees to share their knowledge and resources with the others. In return, humanity establishes permanent military bases in their systems and guarantees their protection. What about the predatory species? Asked Representative Stone Singer Deep Echo of the Mountain Builders. The galaxy is full of races like the Void Hunters. They will not accept this new arrangement peacefully. Let them come, Morrison replied. The Void Hunters thought they were invincible because they had never faced real opposition. Every predatory species in the galaxy is about to learn the same lesson. Admiral Kate Sullivan's image appeared on the main communication screen, broadcasting. From the new human military headquarters being built in orbit around the Zephyrian homeworld. "Admiral Morrison," she announced, "I'm pleased to report that the Covenant fleet is ready for operations. We now have 47 human battle groups stationed throughout Allied space, with more being deployed every month." Morrison turned back to the assembled representatives. "The age of terror is over. No longer will peaceful species live in fear of those who would harm them. The Deathworlder Covenant guarantees that every distress call will be answered. Every attack will be met with overwhelming force, and every predator will learn that their victims are no longer alone." The ceremony concluded with the formal signing of the Covenant documents. Each species added their agreement in their own way. The Zephyrians sang their signature onto the crystal tablets. The aerial dancers painted their agreement in colors that shifted through the spectrum. The humans signed with simple ink on paper, a gesture that somehow carried more weight than all the exotic methods combined. As the representatives prepared to leave, long-range sensors detected another distress signal from a distant star system. Morrison looked at the alert with satisfaction rather than concern. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Sam Carter, "we're receiving an SOS from the Tau Ceti system. Species unknown, but they're under attack by something called the Bone Crushers." Morrison smiled and activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All Covenant forces, this is Admiral Morrison. We have a distress call from Tau Ceti. Time to remind the galaxy what happens when you threaten the innocent." "Admiral," asked Commander Barnes, "shall I alert the Allied species to prepare support vessels?" "Do it. Let's show these Bone Crushers what they're really dealing with. When you attack one member of the Covenant, you attack all of us." The Deathworlder Armada, now grown to include volunteer ships from dozens of species, prepared for departure. The SOS that had begun as a desperate plea from the dying Zephyrians had become the foundation of a new galactic order. In the darkness between the stars, predators still hunted. But now, for the first time in galactic history, they were being hunted in return. The age of the Deathworlder Covenant had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.